Hello. Today I want to briefly break down the most important point for quantum computing stocks right now. There are really two key things to focus on. First, the technology is making gradual progress in reducing errors and making quantum systems more usable in practice. Second, events like IQM's planned US listing could bring short-term momentum back into quantum computing stocks. In other words, the market is not really asking, is quantum computing ready for full commercialization right now? A more accurate question is, are we seeing meaningful technical progress that improves the path toward practical use, and could that expectation be reflected in stock prices before commercialization fully arrives? Let's start with the investment angle. IQM, a Finnish quantum computing company, recently raised 50 million euros, about 57.64 million US dollars, from funds managed by BlackRock, and is pursuing a dual listing in the United States and Helsinki this year. According to reported estimates, the expected equity valuation is around $1.8 billion. The company said it plans to use the funding for technology development and business expansion. This matters because it is not just a financing story for one company. It also shows the market that quantum computing is still able to attract large-scale capital. The industry is still in an early stage, but from an investor's perspective, news like this alone can revive broader sector expectations. That is why, in the short term, US quantum-themed names like IonQ, Rigetti, DWave Quantum, and Quantum Computing Inc. could attract renewed attention. But that is an interpretation of how the market may react, not a guaranteed outcome. These stocks have already shown that they tend to move more on expectations and capital flows than on near-term fundamentals, so strong news can push them up quickly and fading excitement can pull them down just as fast. My view is this. This looks more like a short-term expectations-driven phase than a long-term earnings-driven phase. IQM's planned listing could bring fresh attention back to the broader quantum sector, but it does not suddenly change the intrinsic value of every company overnight. So while the sector may move together at first, the market will likely return to a more selective view over time and ask which companies are actually showing clearer progress in technology and commercialization. So overall, the most reasonable way to see the current setup is this. Technical progress is helping build investor expectations, and the IQM listing story could connect that expectation to stock price momentum. That means short-term volatility in quantum-related stocks could increase, but over the medium term, the market is still likely to differentiate between companies based on actual technology strength and business progress.